21 minutes past 9 Central African time. Still tuning in to News and Views with myself, Salailo Makudere. And we're going to be having a really, really interesting discussion now, one that's very significant and important. The Israeli military, they're saying they'll be opening a criminal investigation into two incidents in Gaza, including the killing of 5-year-old Hind Rajab and her family. This was back in 2024, if I'm not mistaken. And with that, the deaths of 15 Palestinian paramedics in Rafah last year. The military says it has reviewed around 150 incidents involving the conduct of its troops, but only 2 have now been referred for criminal investigation. The announcement comes amid international scrutiny over Israel's military conduct in Gaza, questions of whether internal investigations can deliver meaningful accountability. And to help us unpack all of this, we'll be joined by Khalid Vawda, founder of social Intifada, and is joining us via our virtual platform. Khalid, thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure.
Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah khair for having me. Good to be with you.
Pleasure's all ours. I want to start with this headline. I'm sure you had lots of thoughts, when it first came out. The fact that the Israeli military is now saying they'll be launching criminal investigations into, I think most significantly, that horrific killing of Hind Rajab. From your perspective, how significant is this development, if significant at all?
It's only significant in the fact that Israel wants to fool the world again into believing that Israel is a so-called democracy. It's just another red herring, because if we look into, so there's a number of investigations that they've released reports about. The brutal murder of Hind Rajab is one of them. The other one they've opened an alleged investigation about is the murder of the 15 paramedics who were then buried in a grave. If it wasn't for the mobile phone of one of the paramedics, then Israel would have continued to completely deny that. It's important to remember that, the one case that they've closed off is the World Central Kitchen case, in which they, contrary to evidence that is widely available, they blamed the aid workers for taking a route which wasn't designated, number one, and secondly, for having an armed person on board, which the Israelis say was allegedly somebody from Hamas. So for that reason, they fired on. Now, this is despite all the information that's come out from the World Central Kitchen and the workers that were killed from, it was 3 different European nations that were murdered in that particular probe. But they've closed this case off, saying that that was the result of the investigation. So specifically here with Hind Rajab, without even going into the details of how long this alleged investigation will take, we need to understand Israel's track record when it comes to investigating itself. It has yet to prosecute any single one of its occupation forces in more than 2 or 3 decades. Not one, despite hundreds of cases being opened over the last 2 or 3 decades. So here in particular, in all probability, what they're going to do is they're going to blame the family for the murder. And by that, what I mean they're going to do is they're probably going to say there was a failure in coordination for the movement, because that particular area, Tal al-Hawa, the neighborhood, Tal Sultan, the neighborhood area, was under complete Israeli siege on that day, on the 24th of January, 2024. So based on this, they're going to probably say that the family didn't coordinate with the Israeli occupation forces, and that's why they ended up shooting on the vehicle. But it's important to also remember the initial Israeli story behind this was that none of their troops were in the area, right? That was the initial, when the reports first broke that this child was murdered after the car was struck by so many bullets, they initially said there were no Israeli occupation forces in the area. Then what happens is forensic architecture launched an investigation using satellite imagery, using the audio, which was with the Committee of the Red Cross, International Red Crescent, the call that Hind was on and Layan were on with the paramedics. Between the call and between the satellite imagery, forensic architecture put together reconstructed the entire situation that took place. And they placed the Israeli tank as within meters of the vehicle. They placed clear visuals on the vehicle after knowing that everybody was dead. So the evidence was overwhelming that the Israelis fired from a military tank more than 330 to 350 bullets into this vehicle, into a Kia Picanto, in which Hind was surrounded by 6 dead family members. So the evidence is irrefutable. Israel's going to come out and say they're going to look at some loophole, alleged loophole, that there wasn't proper coordination, or there were maybe some alleged Hamas fighters in the area, or there was something of that sort. The only reason they are issuing this right now, so there's a law, there's a principle within the ICC called the principle of complementarity, which basically means that the ICC cannot investigate a state or military that's investigating itself. So that's the only reason they've opened this case. It's to shield their own occupation forces, their own savage forces from international scrutiny. That's the only reason they've done this. When somebody is investigating themselves, basically the ICC can't go after them. The ICC is the last resort.
I would like you to park that because we quickly have to go for ads, and I want to come back and unpack a bit on that because I think it's very, very important. And also look at precedents. Has there been other cases where the Israeli military and the Israeli government have investigated themselves, and what were some of the outcomes from some of those cases? And could we accept an almost copy-paste kind of script with these cases also? But we'll expand on those after this.
When disaster strikes, families lose everything in an instant. Homes destroyed, communities displaced. Hope fades into uncertainty. Our Global Emergency Fund ensures we respond without delay, delivering food, water, shelter, and healthcare to families in need. To support our Global Emergency Fund, visit islamicrelief.org.za.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Hey, Gulam.
Yeah?
Did I return your lawnmower last month?
No, bye, you didn't.
Oh, no. Now what'll I do? I wanted to borrow it again, man.
With Randry Jewelers, you won't have to borrow or lend because the prices are so well trimmed on all gold and diamond jewelry. Alternatively, we could remake your old jewelry into a brilliant new design. Visit Randry Jewelers at 151 Stevens Lamini Road, Musgrave, Durban. Randry Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil, triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
Are you banking with convenience, transparency, and flexibility? With Al Baraka Bank's transactional banking account, you can enjoy convenient everyday banking designed around your needs. Benefit from zero fees on point-of-sale transactions and manage your banking easily through Al Baraka's secure mobile banking app and internet banking platform. From everyday payments to managing your personal or business banking, Al Baraka makes banking simple, transparent, and convenient. Visit albaraka.co.za to learn more. Al Baraka, your partner bank. Al Baraka Bank Limited is an authorized financial services and credit provider.
Right now, in lands many of us feel deeply connected to, a mother holds a sick child, worried and fearful as she knows her nearest hospital has been destroyed. This is the mother we go beyond borders to reach. Doctors Without Borders is there in the world's toughest places. We go where others can't or won't, and we go immediately. When you give to us, we go even further. Visit msf.org.za/sadaqa, that's SADAQAH, and support Doctors Without Borders today. Doctors Without Borders, we go there.
It's a new beginning. It's a new era. Salam Media, humanitarian journalism.
9:32 Central African time. Thank you so much for joining us. We're still in conversation with the founder of Social Intifada, Khalid Vawda, and we're talking about, I think, a really interesting development. The headline coming out last afternoon. Yeah, I think it was around afternoon, where the Israeli military says they'll be investigating 2 cases, the most notable one being that of Hind Rajab, and also the paramedics that were unfortunately also murdered. I think it was 15 Palestinian paramedics that were murdered in Rafah. And Khalid, before we went on to that short break, you were speaking about how this almost feels like something that we've seen before, and the only reason why the Israeli military or the Israeli government is investigating themselves is to stop the ICC from investigating them. Is this a script that a playbook that they've been using for quite some time now? Are there other examples or precedents that has been set from this?
The invoking the principle of complementarity is to mainly shield their military, their savage military, from international investigation. We have to ask why 2.5 years later, it was January 24th, 2024, that the entire Hamada family was massacred in Tel al-Hawa. Why is this only coming out 2.5 years later? Number one. We need to look into the onslaught that Israel's facing in terms of its image globally right now. Israel's image is in complete shambles and tatters. Apart from the strong backing of the United States with finance and with military equipment, Israel has lost its face everywhere. Israelis are not welcome as tourists wherever they go. You're finding regular videos popping up on social media of people refusing to serve them, locals in different countries, whether it's Europe, whether it's Asia, whether it's South America. They're not being welcome anywhere. So Israel's image has taken a massive nosedive. This is basically a deflection to display to the world that Israel is a so-called democracy. There's always that claim in the media that Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East, and Israel is an extension of European and American values and Western values in a region where everybody wants to end its existence, etc., etc. It's the usual aspera that we hear from their people in public spaces. So it's just another red herring. It's an illusion. It's a democracy. It's interesting to note, during this genocide of almost 3 years now, Israel has only prosecuted 2 cases. 2 cases. Are you ready for this? One is two of their soldiers were actually punished for incidents. One was punished for microwaving a living frog, and another one was punished for cooking sausages in the army kitchen on Shabbat.
Wow.
Those were the only 2 cases that the Israeli occupation forces prosecuted their own military. Not a single one of those more than 70,000, 73,000 that we're sitting at with the death toll have they taken account for. So the World Central Kitchen incident is a very telling one. Despite these being from countries, the aid workers being from countries that are allies of Israel, all those workers were killed. Israel's investigation into this incident revealed what? It revealed that the vehicle was traveling on a route which wasn't approved by the Israeli occupation forces, number one. And number 2, there was an armed person on the vehicle, which Israel says was a fighter from the resistance. Now, the information coming out of the World Central Kitchen is completely opposed to what Israel is saying. They had requested the route, they got the designation from Israel on the route to use, and they hired their own security guard, which Israel had cleared, who was on the vehicle with them. So it was another red herring. They opened up the case to investigate themselves, and the result of the case and in the investigation is that the soldiers did nothing wrong. The same is going to happen with the incident of the paramedics. The same is going to happen with the incident of the Hamada family and Hind Rajab here. So this is an Israeli playbook. It's been going on for decades now. You can go back to the murder of Shireen Abu Akleh, the journalist, the American Palestinian journalist. You can go back even further than that, to the murder of Tom Handel, the British humanitarian who was in Gaza around the early 2000s, who was shielding Palestinian children from Israeli fire, and he was targeted and shot in the head. Despite the best attempts by his family in the UK to get some level of justice, absolutely nothing was done. You can go back to the murder of Rachel Corrie, the American activist, who was trying to stop Israelis from demolishing homes of Palestinians. And she was, despite the clear visuals, despite her clearly being marked as a person who is not causing any threat or harm to Israelis, they bulldozed her. They literally drove a bulldozer over her. Her parents still today fight for some level of justice. So Israel is not interested in anything honorable. Israel is not interested in anything that is meaningful. Israel is a murderous, savage state that is full of psychopaths. And the state, the government, complete right-wing government, there's absolutely nobody within there who seeks anything positive in terms of peace with their neighbors, in terms of justice with their neighbors, in terms of justice with people in the region. Israel's launched a war on multiple fronts. They've invaded other countries. They're killing people in Lebanon. They're killing people in Iran. They're killing people they bombed Syria. They've been bombing loads of other places, and now they're ramping up military aggression against Turkey. And speaking about other countries in quite a bellicose way. So this is the nature of Israel. It's an expansionist project. It's a murderous project. It's a project that will suck up everybody in the region. You either yield to Israel and become a slave to them, like the UAE has done, the United Arab Emirates. They've become brothers in terms of the ideology and the same project, or you will be bombed with the full support of the United States taxpayers' money.
In closing, knowing everything that we know and understanding the optics of the reasons why these cases are being investigated, how should the rest of the world now deal with this reality, knowing that at the end of the day, justice may not be served, and there are examples that we can refer to that can prove us so?
Oh yeah, justice in Israel, you can't use that you can't use those two words in the same sentence. So people need to see through this. This is just optics, purely for optics, as you've stated, and people need to see through this. So despite it being reported widely across the media, because it is a newsworthy item, nothing of worth will come out of this. It's not going to bring Hind back. It's not going to bring her uncle, her aunt, and her 4 cousins back. They were murdered in the most brutal fashion, and we need to always remember and make sure we continue remembering and highlighting who we are dealing with. These are savages. These are savages hell-bent on destruction and hell-bent on murder. If you look into the interviews with Dr. Mark Perlmutter, example, from the US, he's Jewish. He's not Palestinian. He's not Muslim. He's not Arab. He cried when he related accounts of children who have been shot in the head, babies under the age of 2. Toddlers have been shot in the head, have been shot in the chest. He served in Gaza. He volunteered his time in Gaza, and he saw firsthand what had happened, the sheer volume of massacres. So there are many cases, more than 75,000 cases of savage murder at the hands of this barbaric occupation force. And that's what we need to remember them as, and that's what we need to continue exposing them as, because the system and the ideology that fuels them is something that we need to ensure that we fight against until it collapses. Zionism needs to end, and we need to ensure we do everything we can to bring that to an end.
Most definitely. Khalid Vawda, founder of Social Intifada. Always a pleasure having you on air, and thank you so much for unpacking this very, very concerning state of affairs.
It's a pleasure.
And with that, we can take a quick break. News and Views will be back with you after this.
Breaking